We did find information about some excessive redactions where there were 6 men in the 2 hours we reviewed who should not have been redacted, and I do hope the Justice Department makes that public. Some of the most sensational emails, frankly, some of the redactions may have been legitimate because some of them were from women, some of them may have been survivors. But the broader theme is that a lot of this was redacted back in March before we passed the law, and the law requires an unscrubbing of those files so we know who the powerful men were who visited the island and raped these girls, and that was never done.
You were at Maxwell's deposition with the House Oversight Committee today. She invoked her Fifth Amendment right multiple times and also promised to clear President Trump's name in exchange for clemency. I'm wondering what your takeaway was from that and the whole deposition itself.
I was outraged. I mean, she spent hours talking to Deputy Attorney General Blanche and answering his questions. Yet when it came to the Oversight Committee, whether there were Republican or Democratic questions, she took the blanket Fifth Amendment, even when we were asking her nothing about incriminating herself, just asking her who else came to the island. Who else do you know that could have trafficked in girls? And then she says, well, I do have this information. I know this information, but I'm only going to share it if you give me clemency and don't have any prosecution. That's not how things work. She should be sent back to the maximum security prison.
We play that clip where you and Congressman Massey said there are at least 6 men whose names have been redacted who should be incriminated by their inclusion in the files. Can you elaborate more on that? I mean, is it clear was that part of the group that was redacted in the first place?
No, that is not part of the group. It doesn't look like that was part of the group that was redacted in the first place. There are certain documents that say there are 10 co-conspirators, 15 co-conspirators. In that document, some of them were women. Now, I don't know if those women were survivors or not survivors, but we give the benefit of the doubt to justice. Maybe those were survivors who also happened to be co-conspirators and they appropriately redacted them. But there are 6 men in those documents, some of them foreign-born, a couple of them in the United States with their pictures, and there's absolutely no explanation for why they were redacted. Now, we just discovered 6 men in a 2-hour review. My guess is there are more of those people, and we are going to petition the Justice Department to release that. That could have been incompetence and a cover-up. The broader cover-up, though, that I'm concerned about is the scrubbing that took place in March in the FBI files, where all of this redacted information was then sent to the Justice Department. I think U.S. attorneys looked at it in good faith, but they were looking at documents that were already redacted. So when I said to the Justice Department person, who was very nice, helping me search through the documents, I said, why are these redacted? He said, well, sir, we got them this way. So we just are putting them up in the form we got them. And that is the big issue that needs to be addressed.
Congressman Ro Khanna, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you. Joining me now is Julie K. Brown, award-winning investigative reporter for the Miami Herald, whose work was instrumental in exposing the extent of Jeffrey Epstein's crime. She's also the author of Perversion of Justice, the Jeffrey Epstein Story. Tonight, Julie, you have new reporting for the Miami Herald in a piece titled Trump Told Palm Beach Police Chief Everyone Knew About Epstein, Maxwell Was Evil. So, Julie, your new reporting in the Herald tonight is about comments then Citizen Trump allegedly made to the Palm Beach police some 20 years ago about Epstein and Maxwell. Can you just walk us through it?
Yes. To put this in context, this was in July of 2006, and it was right around the time that Epstein was arrested and that there were stories in the media about him being accused of having sex or sexually abusing minors at his mansion. And it was right after that story broke in Palm Beach that Trump called the Palm Beach police chief, who he knew well because, you know, Trump knew a lot of people in Palm Beach, including the chief, and made this comment to the effect that, everyone knew. First, he wanted to thank the police for finally stopping him because, again, Epstein was finally arrested at this time, and then said everybody knew. And he also goes on to describe to tell the police to really take a good look at Maxwell because she was sort of the quote unquote operative and she was evil. And he also mentioned that he had been in some kind of a space with Epstein and a bunch of teenage girls. It bothered him, and he said, I got the quote, I got the hell out of there. So this is in the context of Trump finding out that Epstein is really being scrutinized now for what he was doing with underage girls, and coming to the Palm Beach police chief and saying, well, thank you. Everybody knew he was doing this. So it sort of contradicts some of the statements that Trump has made in the past, saying that he really didn't know anything about what Epstein was doing with underage girls.
Now, have you gotten comment from the White House on this? Because we asked the administration for comment. We got a DOJ official told us, quote, we're not aware of any corroborating evidence that the president contacted law enforcement 20 years ago.
Well, they could look in their Epstein files, because this is a FBI document that's contained in the files, which we've attached to the story. And also I sent to them. They sent me the same statement. So, I don't know what they mean by corroborating, but this is a document that is clearly in the files that, as I said, I sent to them.
It's remarkable because in your article, it really goes into detail about Palm Beach police investigating, seeing schoolgirls going into, apparently schoolgirls, girls with braces and backpacks going into Epstein's mansion, them developing a case, taking it to prosecutors, and prosecutors not pursuing it.
That's right. This was part of my original investigation back in 2018, where we realized that Palm Beach police had made a very thorough investigation, had dozens of victims that they had interviewed, and they wanted to prosecute him for a state crime, for a sexual assault or crimes involving sex with minors. And the state attorney at the time backed down and said he didn't want to charge him with something so serious. In fact, he was going to just charge Epstein with solicitation. The police chief balked at that and said, there is no way you're just going to charge him with a solicitation charge. And eventually the police chief, Michael Ryder, who was a true behind-the-scenes hero in this story, went over the state attorney's head and took the case to the FBI.
And according to your reporting, Epstein hired investigators to basically follow the police and go through their garbage to try to find incriminating stuff about police officers.
They really tried to damage the police. I mean, they dug into everything. They were trying to call Epstein hired publicists to plant stories in the media that were negative of the police chief, that it was some kind of a vendetta by the police. I mean, it was just very baseless claims that they were making to try to discredit the police, the detective, the victims. They followed the victims. They followed the victims' families. I mean, it was an all-out campaign to discredit anyone who was trying to implicate or accuse Epstein of any of these crimes.
Wow. Well, Julie K. Brown, I appreciate you being on. Thank you. Coming up next, we're going to return to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Her daughter, Savannah, releasing that new video this afternoon, pleading for the public's help. No mention of tonight's alleged ransom deadline. We'll look at how these kind of ransom notes have been a factor in some other high-profile cases.